Hello, this is part two of my interview with Shirley Fessel. We jump right in the middle of the conversation with us talking about how our children responded with gratitude to the divorce. So it took my kids until their teen years until they were able to verbalize that because I also
Mhm.
got divorced when they were pretty little. So, and
Yes.
it takes a while for them to actually see because we protect them so much, right? They don't see it,
Oh,
and
they saw it. He was terrible to them as well. But
mm,
what I'm saying is the youngest, that little girl that I left, and I want to say this to women that it's not your fault because sometimes it's common for one of the children to mourn the absent parent,
mm,
no matter how bad the absent parent is. And so she had bonded with her dad, and then she's a year and a half old or 2 years old, and it's like, where's dad?
hmm
And so the other two, as she got older, the other two told her, you don't want that dad. And that has been an issue for her to resolve. But that does happen. I want to tell women it's not your fault because even in the best of homes or the homes that seem to be the healthiest, if a parent dies, the child often idealizes the one that's not there.
mm.
So, you know, I also say if there's any way someone told me, no matter what's going on in your life that's bad, keep doing what's working to move you forward. So if you have a chance to get a degree or try to keep moving forward, try to keep doing something that's going to add to your foundation. Because I'm grateful I had my education and was able to get, adequate paying job, not anything wonderful, but we ate. So you're doing the best you can. You've been under a tremendous onslaught of very skilled manipulation for evil. And whatever you can do, pat yourself on the back or give yourself a hug, but don't try to do it alone because you have to have the support of others.
Yeah, tell us about what kind of support you have. Some people feel very, very alone. Where can they find support? Where did you find support?
Well, at that time, there weren't any shelters or anything. I would call a hotline at night. And my first level of confusion was I didn't know if I was being abused. That's how
Mm,
confused you get. And you doubt everything. You doubt yourself. You doubt what you should know. And so she confirmed that I told her what was happening, and she confirmed that, yes, that was abuse. Even if there's no physical violence, it's still abuse if you're not free.
mm,
If you're not free to relate as you, it's not a good marriage. I mean, it's not anything you need. So um, you're being used, in other words.
mm.
Um, I would call and I would call a prayer line, and that prayer line had people on staff, and you were never supposed to get the same person twice.
Mm.
Every time I called, no matter what time it was, I'd get that same lady. And
Mm.
she was like an angel to me. It was just lovely. And then I had a group of charismatic women's prayer group pray for me. I had some nuns help us with food and utility assistance.
Mm.
Um, I had coworkers, as I said, who stood beside me. Um, so I just pieced together whatever I could find wherever I could find it. And I also want to kind of caution women about not taking people in to your home to help you, because there are people who see a woman struggling and they decide that's a good thing they can use.
Mm.
So be careful who you bring into the home. I did not date because I did not want another man um, relating to my girls. By that time, my son was gone, but I would date a couple times, and then gradually they'd start trying to tell me how to raise my kids and stuff, and it was like, no. That's okay, you go on. And so that, because I hear such terrible stories, and so
Sure. It just makes things a lot more complex when
it's
you bring another adult into
it's
the
just
house.
much easier. It really is. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's go back to this concept of being careful that you don't take someone in. Are you talking only men? Are you talking women? Give us an example.
Well, some women, single mothers, like to have, or it would be helpful if a girlfriend or someone that could share expenses, and babysitting and things like that. And so it's different when you have your name on a lease with someone.
Mm.
And I'm just saying it's better if you all help each other but not live together.
Got it. Got it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I completely understand that. I
Yeah.
was in a situation like that once and had to call that to an end, and it wasn't easy.
No,
So I
watch who
get
you
that.
sign papers with.
Exactly. So a lot of women and of course people are constantly contacting me, probably they're doing the same thing with you, and they say, but I really believed it was God's will
I
to
know.
marry that man
I
or
know.
marry that woman, in the case of the
Mm-hmm.
men who ended up with a woman who was
Yes.
kind of an exploiter.
Mm-hmm.
How did you work through the whole issue of God's will? And did you feel that you didn't hear from God correctly, or that God's will changed, or how do you work that out spiritually in your own mind?
That our faith is not static. We go through certain things to mature spiritually, and you can't judge yourself based on what you didn't know at the time.
Mm.
It doesn't do any good to stand here now and say, well, blah, blah, when you didn't know that then. So don't evaluate yourself on what you didn't know.
Mm.
And my concept of God is just not a punishing person.
Mm.
And but I do know the issue of God's will is, I have a chapter on it because it's so key. Um, but as I said, when I realized there are people who think that women should not be all they are, and they will say that that's God's will, and the God that I know does not agree with that.
How did you deal with the whole idea of, now I'm a second class citizen, now I might be disqualified, or did those feelings never cross your mind?
No, that's not the God I love.
Mm.
You ask yourself, there's a verse about who accuses you before God night and day.
Mm.
Anyone that says anything like that to me believes that I am a second class spiritual person. But I know I am not a second class soul.
Mm.
And I know there are institutions that profit from saying I'm not worthy or whatever, but that's not what God tells me. And unfortunately, that is doctrine, but I don't believe it.
So when you say there are institutions who benefit from keeping us in shame, from keeping us from feeling less than, those are my words, not yours.
Mm-hmm.
Give us an idea. What kinds of things are you talking about?
As I say, it goes back to the idea of second class souls. That somehow a woman, because she's a woman, is the source of problems or evil, or she's just not to be trusted, or she doesn't have good judgment, or she's weak, or whatever you want to say. But if you look around, the women are the ones keeping everything going.
Hmm.
And so if you you have to look at, as I say, ask what is the agenda behind the statement. Is the person going to benefit somehow from you believing that?
Mm.
See, if a person can be kept feeling down, that goes back to the static and dynamic views of salvation. If a person can be kept down and never come out, just chronically guilty, then they're going to keep seeking relief from that. And there's going to be a person there who says, come to me, I'll help you for $550 a year. But I have that passage in my book because I often ask myself, why is it that the good people feel chronically guilty and the people who are hurting other people don't seem to mind at all?
Right. Abusers love
yeah,
that.
That's because it's not a faith issue, it's an emotional development issue. These are people who have wounds, these are people who were hurt or traumatized, or something's in their background makes them feel less worthy. And no matter how much Bible study or how much prayer, that's not going to respond to the therapy that's needed there. Because as long as you can get someone to feel like that, they're easy to be manipulated.
Yeah. Now, a lot of the people listening to this podcast do not have the money for therapy. What do you tell them? How are they going to get some help to get through this time of feeling like they have that black cloud over their head and that they're second class and that they're disqualified and God can never use them again? Where do they go for help?
Well, you run the divorce recovery groups.
I do.
And there are other groups, especially that don't charge. There are trauma-informed therapies through mental health centers. Of course, if there's sexual violation, there's in our area we have a group called MOXA, which is Metropolitan Organization to Counter Sexual Assault. Very low fee, and I would say it's an investment in yourself. Maybe my kid won't have the latest and greatest jacket, but I deserve that help, that healing. And if I don't take care of myself, I'm going to pass it on. So you just have to determine that you're worthy. You are worthy. And actually, you've done what a lot of people can't do, which is live with someone who is your enemy in your house.
Right.
And you made it. You made it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So I say when women stop propping up everybody else and use their strengths for themselves, they are amazed.
Yeah. I was part of right after my divorce, a couple of years after I'd gone through a divorce and was kind of getting the healing, kind of dealing with all the emotions behind the divorce. And of course we were in a big court battle. And, but for me, it was really other single moms who were so courageous, and just when I would be feeling sorry for myself, this single mom or another one in my divorce recovery group, in my single moms group, would talk about how she had overcome something. And I realized, wow, I mean, she's got less education than I do. She's got less money than I do. And look at her go. I mean, she has self-respect because she is trying to better herself and better her kids and move forward. And I always found that to be so inspiring, to just be with a bunch of other single moms. We did not sit around and bash men. Definitely not, because that was counterproductive. What we needed to do was move forward and to have get ourselves healthy on behalf of our kids.
Exactly.
It was a big deal. So
yeah, and if, like I said, if you do the work, if you do the work in the workbook or other sources that fortify you internally, then when you're out there and you have the days that are sadder, you have the days where you are like, oh my God, how did I get in this state? And you go through all that, but you don't go back. You don't go back.
Right. And that's
Because
hard.
there's no
Sometimes you want
answers
to.
there. Yeah, but there's no answers there.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, a lot of us waffle. Even after we made the
Absolutely.
decision to
Absolutely.
divorce, we waffled back and
Yeah.
forth. And, you know, the surety you and I have, because we've been out of it for many, many, many years.
Mhm.
And the happiness, you know, that you have when you have been out for, you know, 10, 20, I'm coming up on 25 years out.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a whole different world. But for those who are in the thick of it, who are terrified, who are
Understood.
going back and forth,
Mhm.
what advice do you have for them?
Well, that's, as I said, that's why I wrote the workbook, because if you don't shut out or deny the words that say you don't deserve to live,
Mm.
you know, what Jesus said you deserve to live.
Mm.
If you don't do the interior work, you don't have a foundation for staying out.
Right. Do you have
somebody said to me, no baby likes it when you take the bottle out of their mouth. And that's essentially what's happening. This guy's had a free ride.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's not going to like it. But if you stay out, he'll go on to some other poor soul that you cannot even warn because she won't believe you.
Right. Oh, wow. Yes. How many women have told you, oh, yes, I called his prior wife.
Yeah.
And she warned me he was an abuser, but I thought he'll never abuse me.
Not me. I'm different.
I'm different. Sorry, we're laughing, but and I don't mean to be in any way
No, but it's
unkind.
It's part of the message system. It is. It's like super lover to the rescue.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit more about your book. Let's say that I wanted to start a domestic violence group or a battered woman's group or just a divorce recovery group in my church of just women. Using your book, how would I do that?
Okay, so the first level of confusion is you don't know whether it's really abuse. And then if you just, the second level is, you know it's abuse, but you wonder if you deserve it. And there's lots of people who will tell you you deserve it. Then the third level is, you know you don't deserve it, but you wonder if it's God's will. And so then the fourth level is, you know it's not God's will, but you think you might be able to help him. And then the next level is, you know you can't help him, but you don't know what to do. It breaks the denial. When you break the denial, you get angry. And the anger is good energy. People will say, don't get angry. No, use that anger. Turn it out, because you've been turning it all in. Turn it out to help you move forward. It's natural to be angry if you're being mistreated. It is not a sin to be angry if you're being mistreated. That's normal. So then after that, you ask yourself, well, I think I need to look around at what my options are. And if you decide that you need to get out, then you have to do planning, safety planning. Christ did not die for me to live like this. So it is not God's will. So when you decide you're not going to accept this anymore as a child of God, you will get help. Things will start coming to you to help you. You have to move forward in faith and confidence, not begging and crying and repenting, and that keeps you down.
How can people contact you on Facebook, and what's the name of your group?
The name of the group is Susanna's Sisters, but you can just contact me on Facebook.
So Shirley Fessel.
Or the page Redemption from Biblical Battering.
Thank you. I hope people reach out to you and follow you and interact with you because I have a feeling you're going to be very a key lifeline of support for them. So thank you so much for your time, Shirley.
Thank you, Gretchen, and you're doing such a great service as well.
Thank you.